How is child support determined and paid?
Okay, so I had at 1 o'clock in the morning, I said, what the hell am I going to say? Guidelines, guidelines, guidelines. All right.
There's a formula, right?
Well, there's a formula, but it's not exclusive.
Is this different than for Connecticut and Florida, or is this the same?
No, they both have formulas. They both have guidelines, but there are particular aspects of the time sharing that involves it. But that's part of, there's a multi-part analysis.
I don't want you to get too much into the weeds and give specifics here, right?
So, do I have to put in Florida? How child support's determined?
Let's just do this one for Connecticut. So when somebody comes in and they say,
there are child support guidelines, but you know, for this, it's not restricted to just the guidelines. You can go outside of the guidelines, but once I get into that, and that's rare, they presume that that's correct, but there's other things you can fight about. It's a multi-level analysis. It's the information that you put into the guidelines that can raise problems, such as income and deductions.
So
let's reasons that it would be inequitable.
Let's try to keep this as general as possible.
Oh boy!
All right, don't go too much into the weeds here, because that's when you're gonna get run into trouble.
Okay.
Let's give this a try. So this is for Connecticut. How is child support determined and paid?
Primarily, child support is child support is primarily determined by the use and application of the Connecticut Child Support Guidelines. Every state in the United States now has guidelines, and it's an actual formula for the calculation. Problems do arise relative to the information that is inputted into the worksheet, such as income. If you are not a standard straight W-2 wage earner and you have self-employment, or there are cash receipts of income and other situations. No, I'm getting too much into the muck and mire. Okay. Child support in Connecticut is primarily determined by the use and application of the child support guidelines. It is a formula which, by the way, okay. In Connecticut, the prime.
How is child support determined and paid?
You see how tired I'm getting?
Couple more here.
Child support in the state of Connecticut is determined primarily by application of the formulas. Okay, I'm going to do this. Do people normally have this? I mean, do people just sit down and rattle it off, boom, boom, boom?
It depends on the person.
Oh my God, I can't believe this.
When we come back and we do it the second round, it's going to be much easier for you.
Okay.
One, you're going to get a good night's sleep.
Oh my God. I had like 4 hours of sleep last night.
You were thinking about this too much.
I was thinking about this too much. I didn't sleep. I came home late. Then I was thinking I don't have it typed up for you. And then I got up at 6:30 in the morning. Terrible. Okay, give it to me one more time.
How is child support determined?
In Connecticut, child support is determined primarily by the use of the child support guidelines. There is a formula known as child support guidelines that is in use throughout the United States. Each state has developed a formula for their use. It is not a mechanical application. Problems can arise and there are certain variables, but ultimately the determination is based on one's net income. The net income of both parties is applied against how many children they have, and there will be okay. It's very stilted. Child support is determined in the state of Connecticut primarily by the application of the Connecticut Child Support Guidelines. Child support guidelines are in use in each state of the United States, but vary from state to state. And they are promulgated by the states themselves. In using the guidelines, what we are looking to determine is the net income of each of the parties. So the areas that may be in dispute would be, what is the income? If there is underemployment or unreported income or partial income, that presents a problem. If someone is self-employed, that may present problems. Reductions for taxes is also a consideration. So there are areas of dispute that can arise. The guidelines are mandatory for a court to consider. And like every rule, there are exceptions to the rule. While the amount of support oh my God, I was on a roll there.
Yeah, that was really good.
Okay.
All right, let's try this again from the top. Deep breath.
Okay.
How is child support determined?
In the state of Connecticut, the primary formulation of child support is done by the application of the Child Support Guidelines. And this is a formula that appears to be easy to use and will give us an amount of each party's support obligation. It's a 3-tier order. The order, the presumptive correct support that the guidelines will reveal, will give us a level of a periodic cash payment to be made, will offer also a percentage contribution by each of the parents towards out-of-pocket medical expenses and qualified child care. It is not, however, as easy as one would expect, because issues can arise in the determination of what gross income is for each of the parties, what reductions should be taken from the gross income to finally determine the net income. But the opportunity here is to use the net income as defined by Connecticut for the guidelines of each of the parties, combine them, and apply it to the guidelines to determine what would be the appropriate support for 1 child, 2 children, 3 children, whatever applies to your situation. A child support order will involve 3 components. There will be a periodic payment of a cash payment, and that will be made either weekly or semi-monthly, dependent upon how someone is paid or the parties agree. There will be a contribution towards out-of-pocket medical expenses, as well as a percentage contribution that will be made to qualified child care. Now, like every rule, there are exceptions to the rule, where a court would decide that under very specific criteria for a deviation, that guidelines should not apply in your particular case. So again, the facts of your case, the parenting plan, the financial circumstances of your case is important in the determination of what child support obligation should be in your case. Again, the conference and consultation with an attorney is important. If you are working through a mediator, the mediator will also be able to apply the guidelines and discuss with you all these different variables. The Family Relations Division of the Superior Court are also available to unrepresented parties for direction in completing the formulas for the child support guidelines. With respect to collection and payment of child support can be made voluntarily by one parent to the other. And you also have the opportunity to have the order include a wage withholding or garnishment against salary, so that the parents do not have to communicate and wait for payments. Rather, in a wage withholding, it is immediately deducted by the employer and eventually gets to the recipient of the child support.